You have got to be joking me right now. You have got to be joking me right now. You have got to be kidding me. I know. Okay, so yes, if you can read by the title, this is a rant video about, politics and stuff like that. I know not everyone likes to hear about politics and talk about politics, but since this kind of goes along with video games, I thought that I could, rant about this because this actually pisses me off. And, it's about Trump. It's our president right now. And this actually pisses me off because, Trump, I already have my things against him. If you guys don't know, yes, I'm anti-Trump. I did not want Trump as our president. I thought he was unfit to be our president. I was totally against Trump. I personally wanted Bernie Sanders to win, but he unfortunately lost. But that's besides the point. I have my own reasons why I didn't want him to win, besides just being unfit. But we're not getting into that. We're just talking about the main discussion here about why I'm really like this is the final straw. Like this just further cements the point that I just want the 2020 election to come closer. I want Trump out of office because this is by far the worst thing that he's like. This is by far the biggest thing that I think I've disagreed with him. Yeah, I've disagreed with him on a lot of occasions, but this is the most stupidest bullcrap I think I've ever heard from anyone. Just not even Trump, just anyone. Anyone. Like, literally, this is the most stupidest bullshit I've ever heard. Now, yes, there's gonna be some swearing because this is one of the most things that pisses me off about this guy, and I really hate him. I'm anti-Trump. I hate him. I know he's our president, and I know that ranting isn't gonna really make things better, but I like to rant about things because it lets me, release my anger out on the internet, and that's why I really like about YouTube. It's a place where you can interact and rant about anything you want. If you have something that you just want to let out, record a video of you letting out your feelings and why this really pisses you off. I know ranting isn't really going to do anything, but this really pisses me off. And this is the only political video I'll ever make on my channel. I swear on God, this is the only political video that I'll ever make on my channel. But this is the most dumbest piece of shit thing I've ever heard anyone say. Let's just get right into the thing. So obviously, Trump makes a lot of dumbass stuff. He does a lot of dumbass decisions, and I posted on my community tab about the newest thing he said, and Twitter's blowing up about it because a lot of people don't freaking agree with him at all because he's a fucking dumbass. Trump says that video games are the problem for violence and mass shooting. Yeah, Trump is one of those people that says video games are bad for you. Video games are this and that. Video games do this. They damage your brain. Oh, the video games are terrible for you. And this really pisses me off. I hate when anyone says that. Do you know what the ESRB is? Does anyone who says video games are violent for you, does anyone know what the ESRB is? The ESRB is the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. What does that mean? It's a freaking, place where they rate video games based on how kid-friendly they are. If it's a good game made for kids, they give it an E rating. If it's a game for teenagers, they give it a T rating. If it's a game for adults, they give them an M rating, or if it's like a game for like 30-year-old men, they give it an A rating. Like, it's not that hard to look at the freaking left side, like the left hand corner of the freaking game, like the freaking game. It literally says the rating right there for what the game is. You should look a little closer. Look at the freaking rating. If it says E, then it's good for your kid. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want kids playing these adult games that you deem are too violent, then don't buy games that have a T rating or an M rating. That is how you solve this problem. If you think a game is, you're just clouding your kid's brain, then don't buy it for them. It's so Isn't that hard to look at a rating? Look at the the bottom left hand of the freaking game box. It's not hard at all. You move your eyes a little bit to the left. Oh, and that we're not even done there. Another bad thing about this is that, do you know what this could do to video game sales? If this law really does pass and Trump is really more strict with video games, any video game that has the smallest bit of cartoon violence could be rated T, even though there's nothing wrong with it. In order to, according to Trump, if there's a game with absolutely no violence at all, which, come on, all games have violence in some ways, even like kids for have kind of not gruesome violence, then it's rated. It's apparently going to be rated T. In order to have an E rating, it has to be all kid friendly, basically like a baby game, basically. And that's what Trump is basically doing. This could affect video game sales for good. This could ruin the gaming industry, because imagine a Mario game with Mario. It has a little violence because, Mario steps on, Goombas and, kills all these turtles, the Koopa Troopas. What if they give Mario ratings T ratings all because of that? This could hurt video game sales, because what if a kid really wants that and they ask their parents for it and they're like, no, they can't because of the rating. Oh wait, that's right, because the parents don't even pay attention. But for the some parents that do, this could also hurt them, because they will look at the rating and they won't be able to get it, even though Mario games are meant for kids. They're meant to play as a family. Just because there's a little violence doesn't mean that it causes mass shootings and violence. It's a kid game. And games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, there's no need to freaking complain about it. Parents should be parents, and blocking these kids from playing these games. If you don't want your kid to play games, and act like a parent and take these games away. There's nothing holding you back. It's just because you want to complain about something and complain about it and make a big deal about it. Take a game away if you don't want if you don't want your kid to play this game. It's not that freaking hard to do. And Trump's blaming the gaming industry for causing mass violence. And the thing I want to say about that is that that's not even true at all. Whether or not video games do have violence, most of the mass shootings have nothing to do with video games. Some dumbass isn't going to play a video game and say, oh, I want to replicate that in real life. That's not how mass shootings work. A lot of mass shootings, if you look up online, which is something you should do if you're a president, is look up online. Most mass shootings are caused by personal background information. It's not because of a freaking video game. That's literally, that's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I can't stand when people say stupid bullshit like this. It's I'm so sick of people complaining about video games. Oh, they're too violent. If you could look at a freaking video game rating, then you can tell whether or not it's good for your kid. You should know this. You're the freaking president of the United States. Look it up. Look at all the background information about the ESRB. There's a lot of information about the ESRB, that what caused it to become the ESRB. Why the ESRB exists. The ESRB isn't a thing for nothing. It exists for a reason. It's to rate games to make sure they're appropriate. We've gone over this 20 years ago. It's the exact same thing. This is the exact same thing. Back then, okay, I understand why a lot of people were upset, because back then the ESRB wasn't a thing. The ESRB had no control over the ratings, but the ESRB formed after people were complaining about video games being too violent, so the ESRB was formed, and now, after that, video games were rated. At the bottom left-hand corner, there was always a rating for the game. Now, we're in 2019, the ESRB is still a thing, the ESRB is still doing what they're told to by rating these games, but yet parents want to be dumb and give their kids these games that they don't want them to play. Be a parent and take these games away. Don't blame video games for what your kid is doing. If you think your kid is getting too violent, take these games away. Nothing is holding you back. And video games are not the problem. Video games are far from the problem. The only problem here is the parents that aren't doing the parenting and not teaching your kids a lesson by being violent. It's not the video game's fault for doing this stuff. It's you getting these games for your children to play. It was your idea. You probably bought it with your money, depending on how old your kid is. It's your responsibility, and it's not your responsibility to blame video games. Video games are not the problem. They're made for a specific audience. If it's an M rating, it's meant for, people over the age of 18. And obviously 18-year-olds aren't going to do this. They're not going to replicate something off of a video game. They're smarter than that. A lot of mass shootings are caused from personal problems with their childhood and their backstory in life. It's not about video games. Not everything is about video games. And that is the most dumbest piece of shit I've ever heard. I've always hated Trump. I've hated Trump ever since he was first running for president. But now this further proves that he is a fucking dumbass. He's a fucking dumbass. And I hate swearing, I don't like to swear on this channel, but this pisses me off. And I really hope that Trump does not win next year. I still can't believe that these idiots in the U.S. voted for Trump to run our country when he doesn't even know about the ESRB and blames video games for being too violent. Like, read a book, learn online. It's not that freaking hard to look at a rating. It's your fault for giving kids these games. So I don't even want to hear that anymore, because this shit pisses me off, and video games are not the problem for all of these. Twitter is trending with hashtag video games are not the blame. Spread that that crazy, and resign Trump is even a hashtag that is trending. Spread that crazy as well, because I hate Trump. I hate him. He is by far one of the worst presidents we've ever had. I loathe him. I loathe him, and this further cements the fact that he is one of our worst presidents that I think we've ever experienced in the USA. I think sometimes I can take politics a little bit too seriously, but this is by far one of the worst things I think any president or any human being has ever said. And I hope that, something doesn't happen to video games, because video games, they're doing what they're supposed to. They're giving them ratings for each game. It's not their problem. It's not their fault for making these games. It's no one's problem for this. The problem is the parents that are giving these kids these games, because it's their job for giving them this stuff. It's your responsibility, not the video games. The video games make it for certain ages. If you're giving your kid a game that you don't want them to play, don't give them to it. Don't give them this game that you don't want them to play. It's that simple. And I'm tired of, this stuff going on. And I'm tired of, all these millennials blaming video games for all this stuff, this and that about video games. It's enough. It's enough. I'm tired of video games being the blame for all of this stuff. And I really hope that in the future, presidents are able to understand what the ESRB is and understand how to be a president. Because Trump right now, I've never liked him. I think a lot of his decisions are stupid, and I can't believe a lot of, U.S. citizens voted for him. He's stupid, and I hope he's out of presidency in 2020 when the new election comes, because I just cannot stand him, and I hope to God he's no longer our president. I really hope so. But, yeah, anyways, that is my opinion on this. This was a massive rant. I really got pissed off here. I'm very sorry if I took this a bit seriously, but when stuff is talked about like this, I can't help but get pissed off. Like, this is stuff that really pisses me off, and I like YouTube as a way to, help me kind of express my feelings about this, But I promise that we're done talking about politics. this is the only political video that is going to be on my channel. Again, I know political stuff is controversial. I get it. But, you know, it's just, since this was about video games, I thought that this was the most perfect time for me to talk about it because I had a lot of opinions about this. I just really hope that Trump, you know, doesn't do anything to video games because I'm passionate about video games. I know video games aren't the problem. It just, I really hope that, you know, that something happens to Trump because I'm tired of him being our president. I just think he's unfit. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, that was the end of my rant. What do you guys think about Trump and blaming video games? Let me know in the comments down below, and I would love to hear it. Anyways, this has been Enigma, and peace. See you next time, and fuck our president.